Good evening. I'm Adam, and these are the Great Debates. While I've only been making videos for about 8 months at time of recording, I've been writing about games for years, the last 3 on the website Vocal. One of my sub-series on that site is entitled The Great Debates. In those articles, I would look at various pop culture competitions like Kirk vs. Picard or Blur vs. Oasis, do a thorough analysis of both contenders, and give my pick for the winner of the contest. This is the first time I've been able to do this in video form, and I'm doing it to look at one of the most popular game franchises in history, Tetris. First created by Russian computer pro Alexei Pajitnov in 1984, Tetris is a game that just about everyone knows how to play. 6 different shapes consisting of 4 blocks each drop from the top of the screen. The player has to set them up to form complete lines to clear them from the board. Over time, the speed of the pieces increases, making trying to form full lines a much more frantic affair. If the pieces reach the top of the screen, the game's over. Wait a minute. Why do I need to explain? I just said everybody knows how to play Tetris. It is a game that has never gone away. It's shown up just about everywhere that has a display screen. It even found its way to the CDI, the Virtual Boy, and even the Nuon. Hell, there are even Tetris playable keychains and programs to play it on TI graphing calculators. Counting unofficial homebrews, it'd probably be faster to list the consoles that don't have it. However, for the vast majority of old-school gamers, the true home of Tetris is the good old Nintendo Entertainment System. People have fond memories of playing this version of the game. It was part of the first Nintendo World Championships, and it's the version still used in tournaments to this day. Now that is some staying power. However, it wasn't the only version of the game on the NES. A few months prior, the Atari subsidiary Tengen released their own version of the game on the NES unofficially after cracking the system's lockout chip. This was illegal in 2 ways. First, Atari had the rights to make Tetris games, but only for the arcades, not for home consoles. Second, Atari broke copyright law to get access to the specs for Nintendo's lockout chip, resulting in a legal battle between the 2 companies that wouldn't end until 1994. That's the most I'll say on that topic. If you want all the details, the Gaming Historian did a great video on Tengen, well worth watching. The question I'm here to answer is just about the end products. Which is the better version of Tetris on the NES? The first-party Stalwart or Tengen's Renegade? Also, full disclosure, the footage of Tetris you're seeing in the video is not me playing. While I like Tetris just fine, I'm not the best at it. My significant other of 15 years, Allie, is much better at the game than I am. This is her gameplay you're seeing. Also, these games aren't being played on an original NES, but instead on Retrobit's Retro Duo console. From what I've learned, while some games show differences when not played on the original hardware, for these 2, they're pretty much indistinguishable from the performance on the official console. Now, if there's one thing that really counts in Tengen's favor, it would be the number of gameplay options. Along with the basic marathon mode, there are 2-player cooperative and competitive modes, as well as variants against the computer. There are even handicaps which can be set for these modes. The AI in the 2-player modes is rather dense, especially in the co-op, but I've seen worse. The Tengen version also fully embraced the game's Russian heritage. There are 4 tracks from famous Russian composers done in 8-bit, and they all still sound great. Whenever a level is cleared, there's a nice little interlude of Russian dancers which are very well animated for the time. There are even some nice animated fireworks over the Russian chapels on the title screen. However, the visuals during gameplay are very plain. They're not bad at all. They just don't stick out. While the blocks are colorful on the way down, once they land, they change to a solid single color that varies depending on what level you're at. Each time lines are cleared, the line or lines are simply wiped with text identifying singles, doubles, triples, and Tetrises. I've gotten used to games having fanfare when Tetrises are scored, and the lack of such in the Tengen version is disappointing. The game also plays a bit slower than Allie was accustomed to. The version of the game she played the most was Tetris DX on the Game Boy Color. It takes longer for the speed to ramp up in the game. Also, while I like them, Allie felt that the interludes between levels broke the flow of the game too much. By contrast, the official Nintendo version is a more stripped down experience. There's no multiplayer at all, and only 2 modes. There's the basic marathon and a score attack mode to see how many points can be scored before reaching a certain number of cleared lines. To be fair, there are plenty of difficulty settings for those 2 modes, especially B mode. The references to Russia are limited to 3 musical tracks, one of which is an 8-bit rendition of Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies from the Nutcracker Suite, a score screen at the end of B mode, and the game box. However, there is more flair during the actual gameplay. While the Tengen version is almost a solid wall of black, the Nintendo version has a cool background of pieces that help draw your eyes to the gameplay field. Each difficulty level has a hue that all the pieces match, even the ones that are still falling. Line clears are accompanied with a cool whoosh sound effect, and there is even some fanfare whenever a Tetris is scored. There's no pause when a level is cleared. The color changes, and the game keeps going. It also plays noticeably faster. Pieces shift side to side at a quicker pace, and the game speeds up sooner. Being a pro, Allie kept up with this version quite well. From a gameplay standpoint, it was almost the same as the Game Boy Color version she had been playing. Well, now it's time to decide. And in this case, it makes sense to factor both Allie's thoughts and my own. Of the 2 versions on the NES, Allie preferred the Nintendo version. The gameplay experience felt more comfortable to her with the quicker pace and the tighter movement. She largely didn't care about the lack of extras. I, however, preferred the Tengen version. I'm a sucker for bonuses, and the slower pace of that version worked better for me as a more novice player. Even though we each had our preference, neither of us thought the other version was bad in any way. So, this is a first for the Great Debates. It is a split decision. Both versions of Tetris on the NES are still great games and possibly the best versions of Tetris you can load up. There are plenty of versions on later consoles that have their own quirks, and most of them are still enjoyable. However, the 2 on NES are still the tightest and purest experiences you can find. While the Nintendo version is rather easy to get, the Tengen version is much tougher. After a lawsuit, the unsold copies of the Tengen version had to be recalled. Tracking down a copy will cost a pretty penny. I was lucky enough to get my copy for $55, without the manual or the original box. Thanks for watching. When I'm not doing Let's Plays, I'd like to do more of these videos. What do you think of our assessment? Angry about the split decision? Leave a comment down below. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. If you have any suggestions of sports or retro games to cover, my Twitter handle is right down there. Also, please check out my written work on vocal.media. The link is on my channel. Next time I'm returning to Outlaw Golf 2 for my 4th tour, and I better get extra moonshine. See you then. Game on.